Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of Entrepreneur on Fire. And when I'm not interviewing inspiring entrepreneurs, I'm listening to Stephanie O'Brien on the Moved by Purpose podcast.
If you know how to use your voice, you can captivate and engage anyone, anytime, and get anything you want.
Are you longing to know what your purpose is? Are you on the wrong career path? Do you feel like there must be more to life? Don't worry, there's hope. It's time to be moved by purpose. Now your host, Stephanie O'Brien.
This is your host, Stephanie O'Brien, and today's guest is Tracy Goodwin, owner of Captivate the Room. She started speaking and winning awards at the age of 12. She later went on to become a professional actor for many years after receiving a BFA in directing. In addition to her BFA, Tracy holds an MA in child drama and an MA in corporate communications. Tracy is a true expert in voice technique, presentation, and storytelling skills and has been for over 20 years. People all over the world seek her out for her expertise, but she really loves building massive confidence in people, helping them get grounded in and find their core message, giving them the courage to share it, and of course, the technique necessary to speak it beautifully. Her voice training is game-changing for actors, speakers, podcasters of all ages. Tracy's core teaching concept is all about building confidence, learning to be vulnerable through voice technique, and of course, captivating the room every time, no matter the venue, the audience size, or the message. Welcome to the show, Tracy. I am really excited to have you on today. And this is one of my first video podcasts to be doing as an interview. So this is exciting to actually see the face of the guest that I'm interviewing.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm excited to be one of your first faces.
Yeah. So it's a totally different feel. It's like, oh, okay. So I'm usually used to just staring at someone's picture. Anyway, so the first question I ask most of my guests are, what is your work history and what led you to starting your business?
Well, my work history and truthfulness started when I was 12 years old, when I started winning speaking awards. Little did I know that I would come full circle so many years later and become a voice and speaking coach. But my goal had been to be a professional actress, which I was for many years, and then got disenchanted with that, and then I started directing plays all over the world and got disenchanted with that, and then I made it back to teaching voice and speaking. And so for the last 15 plus years, I've been coaching and teaching on the college level, people how to improve their voices and public speaking and just really anything to do with presentation, but my primary core is voice. So I've really been doing it forever.
Awesome. And so why is voice important to work on? So why should somebody invest in training on it? Are there times or circumstances when it's appropriate for some people to do it? Certain maybe roles that someone has where it would benefit them for some voice training? Would it benefit someone that's going for a job interview? I'm sure you can touch on all of the benefits of voice training and why someone should do it.
Well, you just opened up Pandora's box.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And the funny thing is that, I work with actors all the way to Fortune 500 executives. And the funny thing about everybody is they always say, oh my gosh, everybody can benefit from this. And the two main reasons are, one, it's the power piece. If you know how to use your voice, you can captivate and engage anyone, anytime, and get anything you want. So if you know voice technique, if you know how to breathe, if you know how to connect to the breath and truly become vulnerable, you can change lives. My Twitter post yesterday was, do you want to tell stories that change lives? Because it goes beyond the words. The voice is what brings those words to life. So that's one of the reasons. But the other reason is the psychological connection. The voice is the most vulnerable piece we have. So we guard it with all our being. We don't always say what we need to say. We don't always say it how we need to say it, because the minute we open our mouth, we become vulnerable. And so as life happens to us and as we get older, we become more guarded and more guarded and more guarded, and we are more tentative about putting that voice out there. But somebody out there needs to hear your message. Somebody's waiting to hear that message. So you got to open your mouth and speak it. And I say, do it beautifully.
Okay. So for someone that feels insecure or doesn't feel quite confident that they are up to par, like, and this is something I personally want to develop in too, as I do more speaking or podcasting or have a presence in front of the camera. Mm-hmm. What are some of the most crucial tips for improving your voice?
That's a great question. And, I just realized I didn't actually answer the question you asked me about job interviews. And I just wanted to throw in really quickly. I got so in my zone there. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The voice is what can set you apart. So yes, absolutely, for job interviews. But, for those quickie, what can I do right now kind of things? One, always make sure you're breathing. And this is great, especially for camera, because it's really fascinating to watch when I work with actors, that what their face looks like on camera when they're not breathing versus when they are. It's almost like shape shifting, because breathing just relaxes everything. It opens your throat. It allows your voice to come out. Breathing is really important. But I think one of the other really big important things is pace. Pacing is really important. Far too many people go really, really fast, and then you've got other people that go really slow, or you've got the person that went really fast and somebody said you need to slow down, so then they start going slow, And our brain tells us every 90 seconds to check out. And that's why the voice is so important, because every 90 seconds when you're presenting information, your audience is saying, not interested, got a grocery list, wonder what they're doing over there. The voice can help you keep them engaged. And pace is one of the first ways to do that. So pace and patterns, if there's something that you do with a pattern, maybe adjust that. Like when I say pattern, I always use a stereotypical example of like a valley girl, like if your lilt goes up all the time, you're going to fight 90 seconds really hard, because people are only going to listen to that for so long. So, pace and breathing are two really, really big ones. I could go on and on and on, but that's a great starting point.
Okay. So when I've gotten feedback where they mention it's like I'm not monotone, but it's almost like my rhythm seems repetitive.
Yes, that's a pattern.
Okay. So is that a pace thing, or what is that?
That's a great question. And I literally get that. I just did a video series on that yesterday, in fact, because people think it's all intertwined. And so it gets really confusing. And I'll tell people that I'm working with, I'll say, we're going to add in some variety. And they think that's pace. Pace is speed. Rhythm, like you're talking about, is your pattern. Everybody has a pattern. Some people lilt up. Some people lilt down. Some people speak ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba, but they don't even know they do it. It's all idiosyncratic. And so that's your natural cadence or rhythm, but that's not variety. Variety is adding in faster, adding in slower, adding in louder, adding in softer to reel your audience in. That's variety. So if you have a distracting cadence, you might want to adjust it. I work with a couple of people, they lilt everything up, they go up all the time, and it's like, okay, seriously? So, we level that out, and then you can add in all the variety elements, which really get confusing for almost everybody I've worked with. So that's a great question.
Okay. So to be more aware, because I just practiced as I was sharing with you before the official recording, that I have a Google Hangout training tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I pre-recorded just to hear it. And I'm like, I noticed it. It's like, it's not a monotone thing. I'm like, okay, to keep them engaged.
Yeah.
And I realize this will be practice. I mean, tomorrow's coming.
Sure.
But to keep them engaged, I'm like, I need to learn how to kind of switch it up a bit, because it kind of lose interest after a while, even if the content is really, really good.
That's right. You're singing my song. You're singing my song, Stephanie. Yeah, and that's exactly what will happen. And that's because it becomes predictable. And the minute it's predictable, 90 seconds. Oh, I know what she sounds like. I know what she's doing. Hey, look over there. So ultimately, and it's not a 24-hour crash course for you. I'm going to give you a cheat code for tomorrow, but ultimately what we want to start working in are louder. Where do you want to get louder? Where do you want to get softer? Where do you want to go a little faster? Where do you want to go a little slower? Where do you want to add emphasis? And you can use all those variables to add emphasis as well. We think, I'm going to stress the words. I'm going to hit them. You can do anything you want, but you have to shake up the value. You have to become unpredictable. And that's one of those power voice. When I say that there's power in the voice, that's it right there. I can manipulate my voice. I can use my voice in such a way to keep you engaged. And at the end of it, I get what I want, which is you buy something from me, or I taught you something, or whatever it is. I hire you again. But there's a quickie way to think about this as well. That's all technique, and you lay it in and you practice it and you make it your own so that it doesn't sound like technique, because we don't want that. We want it to sound real. But if you can visualize the feelings of the words that you want your audience to feel, that can connect you to the passion of the topic, and the passion can drive natural, organic variables.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I know that's a little out there, but...
No, it does, because as I was re-listening, it was very obvious when I got really passionate about a certain topic. There was such a dramatic difference. I was like leaning in, and I'm like really interested in what I just did that message, but that was like the most captivating part of it, because there was so much passion in that specific part of the training. So yeah, I definitely can see how passion definitely helps. The challenge is, how do you keep that going through the entire thing?
Right. Well, and the problem is, and this is why I like technique, and everything I teach is technique, because you learn the skill, you lay it in, and then you draw from it. You never have to think about it again, because what happens, like what you're talking about, we get bogged down in the word. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we get bogged down in the words, it all gets in our head. And so, because there's some pieces that aren't as exciting to us as other pieces. So that's where technique is handy, in those parts that aren't quite as sexy or interesting or passionate, or, we have to do them. The key thing is to don't get so bogged down in the words that you become a talking head. Because when you get bogged down in the words, everything has the same value. And when you're passionate about things, things don't have the same value. And that's just from a technical perspective. I mean, there's definitely an emotional piece to that. But from a technical perspective, when I'm really on fire about something, there's more passion to it. But when I'm delivering, statistics, unless I'm passionate about numbers, they're going to be pretty flat. But you can use technique to bring them to life. So if you can, between now, because I know you have your thing tomorrow, but this is something for everybody, what does that feel like when you're passionate? And what does that sound like? How can you roll some of that into the pieces that you're not as connected to? Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I think if whatever we're envisioning can come to life, rather than focusing on the words, like scripted, we always stand a better chance. I get that all the time. I sound so artificial when I read. Okay, so we have to not read, or you have to be able to bring the read to life,
Okay.
That's what I see a lot in webinars. And I think my last thing, which, I know you're going to do, because you're very gregarious and darling, and very enjoyable to, enjoy being on the screen with you. Come on strong.
And come on strong.
Yeah, I see, that's in my Captivate the Room on video course. That's one of the things I caution about, is come in with confidence. People will start their webinars, hey, how's everybody doing? And I know you're not going to do this because you're not like that. I can already tell, but it's like, so yeah, we've got,
yeah, I know.
Come on. What do we got? Show me, tell me, talk to me. So that's definitely for people doing webinars. That is like a major tip for me and I hear it from other people. I thought it was just me. And then I started hearing it from people that would come and work with me. They'd be like, I watched this webinar I started hearing it when I started doing podcasts. People would say, I watched this thing the other day and I spent 35 minutes rambling about his trip to Peru and the thing was about list building. Get in there. Don't waste people's time. Come in with confidence. Welcome them. Hey, great to be here. I'm so excited. Let's do this. Get them hooked from the beginning. And the power of the voice can do that,
So in podcasting, video, speaking, training, webinars, all of that, your voice is so important. And even in interviews, I think you're definitely right with the voice portraying confidence.
Yes.
And how, if you're kind of a softer spoken, but I've even seen people that have more of a softer spoken voice, but they still can deliver more authority in that softer tone, which I found fascinating. And these are people that have had voice training.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because I think loud oftentimes is the go-to anyway. I got to make a point.
Yeah.
Why not?
Right.
I make much greater points when I reel you in.
Yeah.
That's just not a tool we think to use unless somebody says, hey, what about getting quiet? That's what voice teachers do. I think you're right. I think people think, why do I need voice training? I use my voice, but are you stepping into the power? Like you're talking about the guy who was quiet. And I tell people, it's truly the missing link. I really believe that. If you find that you're not getting the results you want, if you're not getting where you want to be, if you're not getting the jobs, if you're not getting the this, if you're not getting the that, take a look at your voice. Mm-hmm. And it might be the missing link.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. My coach, I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Miller. He's connected with Jared Easley, which I know you know.
Yes. Love Jared Easley.
Yeah. So I met Jared, I think, through my connection with Dan Miller. And Dan Miller was my coach. And the first call, he was like, you need to go to Toastmasters because the way you talk is you drop off at the end. If I ask you about the weather, you'll say, it's raining in Michigan, like you're uncertain of yourself.
Right.
With the way that it goes up. And he was saying how it would really help me be confident and have that kind of authority with clients when I'm talking to prospects about sales. It can actually help close more sales the more confident your voice is.
Absolutely. And I worked with a guy in Chicago for a while. I love this guy. We did a 3-month gig, I think, and he called me up in the middle of it. He was a major salesman. And he called me up in the middle of the night and said, oh my God, I figured it out. Products don't sell, voices do.
Well, there's a tweetable for you.
Yeah, there you go. And that's exactly what you're saying. And, that's all linked into the psychology. The psychology is driving the voice. And literally what's happening in that example that you gave is, I'm putting my voice out, but I'm unsure, so I'm going to bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how you feel about this, so I'll just test the water.
Yeah.
And then we lay that stuff into the muscle memory, and that's what we draw up. So we have to lay in something new that says, I'm the boss. Don't you want to work with me? Or whatever it is. Then like he was saying, it's more confident. It's absolutely sales, teaching, everything.
Yeah.
It's just powerful stuff.
So how can we connect with you? I'm sure there's people listening that are like, I need this.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah. Well, and for the people that are listening that I keep dodging in and out of the screen, I'm trying to wrestle a spaniel here. While I'm trying to do this, multitasking. You can find me at captivatetheroom.com. And I've got lots of programs and services, and there's an email pop-up box, and I'd love to hear from everybody. That'd be great.
Awesome. And you mentioned that you had a video training.
I do. I have several downloadable video courses, voice technique for video, webinar, and podcast success. I have a Captivate the Room on video course. I have an accent reduction course. And then I've got some live online training programs that I'm rolling out. And then I work with people one-on-one.
Awesome. Okay. So for starting off, do you think that it would be more beneficial to get that live feedback, or an online course would be effective as well?
I think it depends on the learner. I've got so many people in my downloadable courses, and I'm always available via a discussion board. But then I've got other people that are just, no way, I want one-on-one. And that's what the online program, and that's what's great about it, is you have an initial one-on-one where we say, okay, this is what you really need to focus on over the course of the month. There's a 4-week course and there's an 8-week course. And then everything's delivered live in webinars when you're in the room with me. So that's kind of like meeting halfway. So, you've kind of got 3 options. Some people are great with just downloadable course. I'll learn it on my own. I'll pop her a question if I need to. Other people are like, I want you, And
I need you to give you feedback.
Yeah, because it's also personalized. I would coach you totally different than the way I'd coach your sister, or, everybody has their own special, unique things when it comes to the voice. So I think it just depends on what you want and how you learn and what you want to spend, and how fast you want results. I've got people that they're like, can I come 3 times a week? And I'm like, easy, killer. We got to get this stuff set. But, some people are, when they're ready to go, they're ready to go. Other people like a slower burn, and a downloadable course might be better for them.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was very exciting. It was different than some of my guests on the show, and I'm really glad because this is definitely a very valuable interview. And so I'm excited that they can check you out and connect with you.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me. It was just really a pleasure to be here with you today.
All right. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Pace is speed. Rhythm, like you're talking about, is your pattern. Everybody has a pattern. Some people lilt up, some people lilt down. Some people speak ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba.
And there you have it. That was Tracy Goodwin. Very captivating. Demonstrates how to captivate the room, which is her whole business and what she stands for. That's her purpose and what she lives for. And what a beautiful gift that is that she brings to the world. Everybody can benefit from voiceover training. So if you're struggling with finding a job or struggling with building a business and making that big transition, or you want to podcast or do video or speak, I highly recommend connecting with Tracy to really build your confidence and use your powerful voice to captivate people. Thank you all again for checking in this week. I love you all dearly. If you have any questions, please email me your question so I can answer it, or find a guest that has the expertise to answer your question. I love to hear from you. It really brightens my day to hear somebody, because I don't know your faces. I don't know. I see people listen, but I don't know who you are. So I would love to hear from you. I'm never too busy to say hello, to connect with you. And it just really brightens my day. If you have not done so already, make sure you rate and subscribe to this podcast and write a review, because this really helps me get found by more people. Of course, that is if you want to. It would be of help so I can continue adding value to your life and helping you break through to new levels. And remember that you are a gift to the world. Your life matters and it counts. You have significance. You were created for a unique and specific purpose. Now get out there and start living on purpose and leading your legacy. And I'll talk to you all next week.